And boom, what is going on, everybody who's watching this in the portal? This is Tyler, and this week we are going to go over the first concept when it comes to hypertrophy training. All right, when it comes to building muscle, hypertrophy 101, that is progressive overload. Okay, that is what we're going to go over this week. This is the first of 3 different types of ways you can train for hypertrophy, and we're going to get into it right now. All right, so just a review, we haven't done one of these in a couple weeks, so I want to kind of go over all the ways that you can build muscle. You can tone, get lean by building muscle, right? So hypertrophy, this is a quick recap. Hypertrophy is an increase in growth of muscle cells. Hypertrophy refers to an increase in muscular size achieved through exercise, muscular toning, and growth. And then there are 3 types of ways that you can train for hypertrophy. Today, we're going to go through mechanical tension, which is basically progressive overload. There's eccentric lowering, which we'll go over in the next video, and then metabolic stress. So we're going to talk about specifically mechanical tension, progressive overload, okay? So progressive overload is gradually increasing. This is the most simple way, the most basic way that you can build muscle strength. You can even build endurance through this, all right? And this is a concept that is very simple. It's very straightforward. And this one is going to be something that you guys will be able to understand by the end of this presentation. And basically what that is gradually increasing the frequency, reps, or resistance in your fitness program, okay? For example, if you want to increase reps, all right, week 1, you might do 8 reps of a squat. You might do that for week 2 as well. Week 3, you do 10 reps of a squat. Week 5, you do 12 reps of a squat, right? If you want to increase resistance, very simple. Increase 5 pounds per week at the same amount of reps, right? See here, week 1, you squat 135 for 8 reps. Week 3, you squat 140 for 8 reps. Week 5, you squat 145 for 8 reps. Increasing frequency, right? You might squat 1 day per week during week 1. During week 3, you might squat 2 days per week. During week 5, you might squat 3 days per week. So very simple, just simply adding up the days, adding up the reps, adding up the resistance. All right. So typically this is what the rep ranges are for. Okay, guys. So rep ranges for working out. All right. The first rep range here is going to be 1 to 6 reps. All right. So if you're doing 1 to 6 reps at 80 to 100% of your 1 rep max, that is going to help you build strength. Okay. Now, if you want to build hypertrophy, if you want to build muscle, because strength doesn't always equal hypertrophy. Hypertrophy basically is more or less about the time under tension. The amount of time that you are putting, say, your chest, right, if you're doing a chest press, under tension, right, with a heavy weight, a weight that is anywhere from 55 to 80% of your 1 rep max. You want to do that 8 to 16 reps. Now, guys, very important to understand that just because you're doing 1 rep of something doesn't mean you're going to get stronger. If you're doing 1 rep, typically you want to be at 95 to 100% of your max for whatever lift it is. If I can max out, we're talking about this here, if I can max out at a squat of 300 pounds, I'm not going to get any stronger by doing 1 rep of 250, right? Because 250 is not going to be in this strength range, right? And at the end of the day, I'm not really sure how much that even is. If we looked at that, right, 250 divided by 300 is how we'd get that percentage, right? So actually it would be. So I was wrong. Say we did 200 pounds, right? And our 1 rep max was 300, and you did that 1 rep, that's not really going to make a difference, right? So you got to make sure that you are challenging yourself. And a good way to challenge yourself, if you don't know, is you typically want to have, when you're doing hypertrophy, right? And we'll get into that here in a second. But for strength, you don't always want to have an extra rep in the tank, right? You want to kind of max out sometimes. But when we're talking about hypertrophy and progressive overload, this is the sets and rep range you want to typically use, right? We'll get into the strength repetitions here and the endurance / metabolic conditioning in another video as well, because those are different ways to build muscle. But this week, we're going to be talking about hypertrophy, the set and rep range. And the rep range you want to do is 8 to 16 reps. You can do anywhere from 3 to 5 sets there. You can do as many as you really want to, but this is the rep range that you want to do. And you want to find a weight that is 55 to 80% of your max of that given workout, right? So if my bicep curl max is 100 pounds, right? And I do 16 reps of, 55%, that would work. Or 16 reps of 55%, which would be 50 pounds, right? So you just do the math there, guys. You find out what the most is that you can do, and then you pretty much find the percentage, right? And you do the amount of reps in there, right? So typically what you guys want to think about is this. You want to have 2 reps left in your, you want to be able to do a workout and be able to do 2 extra reps from what you did, right? So if I do 8 reps, right, and every single set, I'm only doing 8 reps, and it's as hard as I can go, you're typically going to start to see fatigue as you go through set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4. And by set 4, you're going to be throwing your arms into it, throwing your back into it, throwing your legs into it. And you're not going to be doing the workout exactly how you should be in order to see the most results. So you typically want to find a weight that you can do 2 extra reps of, right? And that's what you're going to do consistently throughout the sets and reps. All right. So 8 to 16 reps is what you want to do best for the hypertrophy. So this is a question I get a lot. What now, right? I've reached, basically I did 100 pounds on my squat, right? I did 100 pounds on my squat, and I did that for week 1, I did 8 reps, right? Whew. For week 2, I did 8 reps. Week 3, I did 10 reps, right? And each week I go up 2 reps, right? Well, eventually I get to 16 reps. What do I do now? Well, now what you would do is you would drop down back to your 8 reps, right? And you would do, say, 110 pounds on your squat. And then you would sequence through again until you get, 110 pounds for 16 reps. Or what you can do is you can progress with sets, right? That's another thing too. You can increase sets with the same amount of weight. So instead of doing, in week 1, you do 3 sets of 8 reps on a 100-pound squat, right? Instead of doing 3 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 10, adding 2 reps the next week of a 100-pound squat, you say, okay, now I'm going to do 4 sets of 8 at a 100-pound squat, right? And the next week I'll do 5 sets of 8 at a 100-pound squat. See what I'm saying there? And the other, right, is you could switch up your hypertrophy training, right? The other way you could change it up after you've progressed the reps of a given weight, you'll say, okay, now I'm going to do metabolic conditioning, or now I'm going to do eccentric lowering, right? And that's how I would increase that, right? The next thing here, and this is very important, unless you're performing full body workouts, you typically want to give yourself 24 to 48 hours rest before working on the same muscle group, right? So you don't want to do chest every single day. That leads to a lot of possible injury, extreme soreness, and your body will not be able to handle that and recover and build muscle. So typically, any soreness that lasts longer than 72 hours is not good, all right? You're bound to be sore, especially when you first start off, and that should only last for about 48 hours or so. Anything longer than 72 hours is not something you want to feel, and you might just want to take it easy for a little bit. And if it persists, go see your doctor, your physical therapist, right? Another important thing, you always want to train. You want to have a training log, so that way you know, okay, I did 3 sets of 8 of a 100-pound squat on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm gonna do the same thing. On Wednesday, I'm gonna do this, or on Wednesday, I'm gonna do the same thing. On Friday, I'm gonna do the same thing. And then the next week, that's when you can say, okay, what did I do last week? If you don't write down what you're doing, guys, just wait, we're never gonna know if we're progressing. So in order to progress, we have to have a full log of what we've been doing, and then try and do more sets, or do more reps, or do more weight, right? Or do more during the week. The other thing you want to do is always test your max out, because again, we're talking about doing a percentage of your 1 rep max, right? So if I don't know what my 1 rep max is, or I don't know if it's improving over time, that's not, you're not going to show improvement on strength. It's more for strength. But a lot of times, guys, like I said, strength doesn't always equal muscle growth, but it does have a high correlation to that. The stronger you are, typically the more muscle you're going to build. Okay. But it's not always at the same rate, right? Your strength might go way up, but your muscle might grow, at a slower rate, right? And listen to your body. If you're sore, take a rest day, guys. If you're feeling a little bit more than a soreness, or you're feeling pain at the joint line, take the day off, right? Pro tips. You want to work your prime movers, like your chest, your back, your shoulders, your legs, right? You want to work those 2 to 3 days per week to see an efficient growth. right? To be able to do this workout routine without feeling like you're spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, right? I recommend that you eat 80 to 100% in grams of protein per pound of body weight. So basically what that means, guys, is if you weigh 100 pounds, you want to have anywhere from 80 to 100 grams of protein per day to rebuild that muscle and build up that muscle tissue. It's very important to have that. Also, as far as carbohydrates go, you can consume 20 grams of carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates like fruit or honey or anything that breaks down very quick, even like little candies, right? Those break down very quickly, right? You want to have that before your workout, right? In order to build muscle and have that energy to perform these workouts. Because again, these are a lot different. These are going to force your muscles to work beyond their means. And that's, important to make sure you fuel your body in the proper way when you do that. So you want to have carbs and protein before. You want to have carbs and or protein. So you can have just carbs or just protein, or you can have both together before or after your workout, or both, right? Typically about 20 grams, and that's just a broad statement, but at least 20 grams of each would be good. And then you want to make sure that you're resting sufficient amount of times, guys. I can't tell you how many times I see somebody go in there and they just go as hard as they can until they can't anymore, and then they don't rest. And what ends up happening is you're not going to be able to do this, this amount, mess that up. You're not going to be able to do, 55 to 80% of your 1 rep max 8 to 16 times with good form, because you're going to be so exhausted because you haven't had the proper rest time. So you want to make sure you rest properly. Hydration is another thing, guys. We're made up of so much of our body is made up of water. So drink 1+ gallons of water per week, again, or per day. That's a big statement, but at the end of the day, that's the best advice I can give you on a broad spectrum. Right? And then here are some examples right here of a training program in the frequency that you can use, right? So Monday, you might do chest and back, right? Tuesday, and this would be one where you're basically working out each muscle group twice per week. Okay, chest and back on Monday, shoulders and legs on Tuesday, biceps and triceps on Wednesday, and then you basically repeat the same cycle on Friday and Saturday with a rest on Sunday and Thursday. So this is an example of what you could do if you wanted to have 2 rest days, right? And you're letting each muscle group rest at least 24 hours between the workout session. Or you can do this one where you have 1 rest day, right? Chest and triceps Monday, back and biceps Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, chest and triceps Thursday, back and biceps on Friday, and legs on Saturday. And then the last one that you would do is a full body workout on Monday, rest on Tuesday, full body on Wednesday, rest on Thursday, full body on Friday, and then on Saturday, hit maybe arms, hit abs, something that you want to do. Maybe it's cardio, right? And I didn't add that you definitely want to do cardio in here as well at some point to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, this is a day where you just kind of go in and do whatever you feel like you need to work on, right? So that is how it works, guys. So a quick recap of everything. I'm just going to go through real quick the presentation. Basically, hypertrophy is just building muscle. There are 3 ways to do it. Today, we talked about progressive overload, okay? Progressive overload is basically just increasing your frequency, your reps, or your resistance of your workout in the program, right? Here are the rep ranges, guys. Here are the ways to basically the examples of increasing reps, increasing resistance, increasing frequency, right? Reps, just adding a couple reps per week. Resistance, adding a couple pounds per week. And then increasing frequency would be increasing the days that you're doing your workout, right? For hypertrophy, you typically want to stick in the 8 to 16 rep range at a resistance of 55 to 80% of your 1 rep max. If you don't know that, I would highly encourage you to figure out what your 1 rep max is safely. But also make sure that whenever you're doing a workout and you find a weight that you want to use for your first set, you find a weight that you can do 2 extra reps of, right? So if I'm going to start off with a bench press, I'm going to do 4 sets of 8. I would find a weight that I could do 10 reps of, right? And then do that every single set, okay? And then here, if you are doing the resistance training and you're doing that same set, 4 sets of 8 of 100 pounds on bench press, right? And then you eventually get up to doing 10 reps, then 12 reps, then 16 reps. Then you would either want to, you'd want to go back down to the 8 reps and do 110 pounds for the same sequence, or you could basically increase your sets. And then from there, it's important, guys, to remember that you want to give yourself 24 hours to 24 to 48 hours of rest between hitting the same muscle group. Any soreness greater than 72 hours is not good. Log your training. Make sure that you are testing out your maxes so that way you know where you're at, know if you're improving or not on the strength level. Listen to your body, make sure you're resting as you can. Pro tips: drink a gallon plus of water per day, rest 45 seconds to 2 minutes in between sets. You can consume 20 grams of carbs and or protein pre or post workout. You want to consume 80 to 100% of grams of protein per pound of body weight. And then you want to work your prime movers 2 to 3 times per week to get optimal results. As far as examples of training, here are they right there, right? And that's it, guys. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. And that is your presentation for this week. Next week, we're going to go over eccentric training. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm going to open it up for questions.